our feature presentation this week is a movie that everybody's talking about, but they're not saying anything. Barbarian. So this is Justin Long, Pennywise Skarsgård, uh,
Georgina Campbell.
Georgina Campbell. They are the stars of a movie about, keep it short and to the point, this is the log line. Two people are double booked at an Airbnb. That's where we're gonna go. So this movie, it was kind of thrown out there, small movie. I don't think it was horror movie made for a few $1 million, so they probably assumed that it would make its money back and a little bit more. But it's actually really, through word of mouth, it's really gotten out there. And this movie, people are, and the big thing is, don't talk about it, don't read anything about it, go into this thing blind. So before we talk about the movie, I want to say that I've read nothing about this movie. I only saw the trailer once in theaters. I haven't talked to anybody about, nothing at all. But after the movie, I was like, okay, I want to see what people think about it. It seems to be that most people really, really enjoy this movie. However, the people that don't like it have talked about how predictable it is. So my question to you, because I see that, and it seems like everyone who doesn't like it is saying that. My question to you is, what part? Because there's absolutely nothing in this movie that I could have predicted.
Oh, fuck that. No fucking way. No, look, I get that this movie is, I think, would be like some people's like most hated movie of the year. Totally. And I could totally see why. For numerous reasons, actually. But this movie is far from predictable. As a matter of fact, I found it about the least predictable movie that I've gone to the theaters for, because I actually went to the theaters for this guy. And it was literally for what you just said. It was, man, I'm kind of not sure what I just saw. I really liked it, but I don't want to tell you a word about it. And so this review on this here podcast is going to be mighty interesting for all y'all folks. But I think what we're going to try to do is paint the portrait of exactly why you should see this movie. So there's my spoiler warning there. But it's a movie that sets you up. It has like 3 setups, and each time you kind of get a whole different set of stuff to follow and characters to watch and care about and to get to know. And it does this in a really clever way, and it keeps the tension and suspense ratcheted up the entire time. I think there's maybe like 2 times in this movie where it's not just like chaotic and anxious.
It's you really good description there. I differ with you on a little things though. So the first act, first 30 minutes, incredibly tense. Like, I mean, you don't know who to trust, you don't know what's true, what's not true. You just know that there's 2 people that have double booked an Airbnb. That's all that you know. And as you're listening to the conversation, like, I didn't trust either of them. I just trust either of them. Like, it could have been, either one of them could have been setting up the other. And the whole time I was just like, okay, like I was on edge the entire time. The rest of the movie, it was never that tense to me at all.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I guess maybe not tension, but like activity level, like constant activity. And while yes, it may not be as tense as that very first act, I think what you're given after that is it's a totally different set of tension. But yeah, it's not the who what's happening. It's not that. You're right.
For me, so like I said, I think when the horror became more visceral and less psychological, I have to admit I was very disappointed.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like the The and like Blake said, some spoilers here, nothing too
It
crazy. I hope so. This is a movie that has a lot of tonal changes, and that's
does.
nothing. There's movies that change tones. All the previous movie we talked about, it changed tone. So,
Mhm.
the first tonal change for me, and a little bit of it was an adjustment because it goes from this like just tight storytelling to this almost like happy-go-lucky kind of sunny California thing. Um, and it threw me for a loop. So part of it was that, like, it had nothing to do with the writing.
Okay.
It wasn't the movie. I wasn't like pissed. It was just like I was so caught up, and then it pulled me from that, and I was like, "Well, I was really into that, you know." And then as things
Sure.
go along, and then like you said, different type of tension, different type of circumstances. All roads lead to Rome. So like you were right back to where you started, kind of thing. But I was initially caught off guard. Um, when there's future tonal changes, like I
Sure.
understood them more,
Okay.
and I was really caught up in, and like you said, different type of tension. It wasn't so much tension, but I just wanted to see how everything worked out.
All right. Yeah. Like you knew there was going to be a lot of action of sorts, you just didn't know how it was going to transpire. So that first tonal shift, as you've described it as perfectly, is like I said, I think there was like maybe one other person in the theater with me who we were on like the same level, same page.
Yeah,
When that tonal shift happened, like the way the movie cuts, it made me laugh out loud. Like that
yeah,
movie goes from, I literally laughed and kind of like looked around for like I hope, because like that was on purpose. That was supposed to be a jarring, shocking, like what the fuck,
yeah.
and
Uh, those like side by side, you couldn't
yeah,
get two more opposite scenes. So it absolutely pulls you out of a moment, and it does something to you
100%.
mentally.
Yes.
It does something to you physically too, because you're
Yes.
watching it like that, and all of a sudden you're like
Yeah.
so like it's I think this is for major pictures, because this was like, big release in the theaters, even though smaller end of the scale. Um I think this was a very brave movie because it
Yeah.
did some crazy shit.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, man. I actually, I think one of the guys at the brewery, we were talking about this, and he and I kind of thought the same thing, that it was like it was uncomfortable and funny, and like there's a real comedy to it that
It's
I
hilarious. One of the characters in particular, shitty person,
oh
is
god.
because of what they wanted. They were very entitled and stuff, but they made some hilarious decisions.
one of one of my favorite things in the whole movie, and this is not a spoiler, but this is was just a kind of a glimpse at this character's like he hasn't been at this house in a long time, and so when he discovers that there's like a basement like a little bit
Oh,
bigger than he
I
thought,
loved it.
he
Laughed out
runs to
loud.
he runs upstairs to see if it increases his property value and stuff.
And the way they do it, and this goes, we just talked about jarring cuts and edits and taking for, so there's lots of discoveries in this movie to where it's like, oh shit, like, so he makes one of those discoveries and you're like, oh man, like what's gonna happen next? The very next scene is him on Google, like,
Yeah, he's getting a tape measure, checking his square footage.
like how much would my property be worth, like just so well done, because
Oh, so
that
good.
that see that was very similar to the first one, because
It was.
you're in a situation where like, oh my gosh, it's like history repeats itself, like this is bad news, and yeah, this might be a shitty person, but I don't know what the fuck's going on. There's a shit bucket here, like this is scary
He
shit.
doesn't even glance at it.
And then they turn it around into a joke.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
To-
and this joke
Totally.
continues for a while as more revelations are made. He's in a good mood. He's like, hell yeah, let's bust out that tape measure. Like,
No,
absolutely.
he was great. And we just watched a movie. Man, I can't remember the name of it now.
The House
Justin
of
Long,
Darkness.
House of Darkness.
Yeah,
And kind of similar vibe from
that's
from
yeah,
from Justin Long. And they're like almost like companion characters, really.
yeah. They're
But
they're
he
buddies.
yeah, they would
That's the
totally
dude he
get
was
along.
talking to on
Yeah.
the phone.
That's him. I love that. But yeah, it's he Justin Long in particular. I like when he really just lets loose, and he played that such like likable geek for so long that I
Mhm.
love that he's gotten away from that, and now he's playing more of like a, well, he would be likable, but nah,
Yeah, he
he's not.
got
He's not at all.
he's a little on the douchey side.
Yeah, a little bit, maybe
Like,
a
yeah, I
little
thought
bit.
the character was like I thought the exact same thing as you. Like I'm thinking House of Darkness, but like the next level. This
Hmm.
character, he's got kind of taking
Yeah,
it to the next step.
yeah.
But his performance, and I think I've said this before on here, like every time I hear the name Justin Long, up until this year actually, I think like, man, I don't like that guy. Then I'd see him and I'd be like,
I
he's
like
really
that guy.
good. Yeah, like
Yeah,
why am I thinking that? So as we've seen him a couple of times this
yeah.
year. So now I'm thinking like this guy is really, Tusk notwithstanding, this guy's a really good actor. Like,
He's great, man. I mean, Jeepers Creepers, he's kept his horror pedigree up, you know. He's done the accepted movies, and he's tried to do the romantic
he
stuff and
said
the
some
real
rom
goofy
coms.
shit.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's found his home, I think, in the genre, and I always appreciate it when like an actor kind of like knows where his roots are and like
Yeah.
continues to go back. Like Jamie Lee Curtis always did the same kind of stuff too. And so like I like that he's right at home in the genre because he's great, man. He's great.
He is, and we spent some time talking about just long characters, but Pennywise Skarsgård,
Ah,
this guy, like, he should be in rom coms, and maybe
yeah.
he's not the dude on the poster, but at the very least, he should be the really good friend. Like he absolutely, Charlie Day, that's the guy
Yeah.
from Always Sunny, right?
Hmm.
He was just in a rom com. He was the lead in
Oh,
one,
he's great.
and he was awesome in it. Like
Yeah.
not the traditional tall, muscular, handsome dude, but the personality, the attitude, just the charm.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's Pennywise Skarsgård, forgetting what ends up happening to him, and because
Right.
not just forgetting that, just the character in and of itself. I thought he would be great for a role. I thought this character was awesome.
Totally. I actually, so I loved our two beginning leads, you know,
Yeah,
and you know, Georgina's awesome. She's really great in this. Actually, I don't want that to be understated.
yeah,
She's to me is like really the highlight of the whole movie. But yeah, Skarsgård, he's got this. Well, he's like you said, he would be like the like Matthew McConaughey or whatever would be like on the cover, but he would be end up being like the nice guy she ends up with because he
yeah,
plays like such a like genuine, like his joking and like flirtatious thing seemed, you know, like he actually cared. And then when
yeah.
she was creeping out him, he was like, you know, who the like what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, he was
You
like
know?
genuinely worried.
Yeah, he was like, like you're the one fucking with me right now. And
Yeah,
so yeah, he was incredibly likable and relatable. And yeah, you could tell I could totally see him being a leading man
absolutely.
with his weird eye. I got one of those.
Totally. Like he was like perfectly cast. And then Georgina, you mentioned, because you have three main characters in this.
Mhm.
And she's so good in this, and I agree with you. I think she may well be the highlight of, I mean, she's on the poster, so
Yeah.
like she may well be the highlight. But I think what made her so good is how consistent her
Mhm.
character is. Like there's, I mean, you're rooting for her, but she's a smart gal. And like I loved how she was consistent throughout the entire movie, because eventually in horror and genre, and it's just part of this, like they're gonna do something dumb, they're gonna do something out of character, they're gonna do something that you're doesn't make sense in for the character. But I just, throughout the entire thing, I was totally behind her and enjoyed it. And again, that's forgetting what happens. I don't, not
Right.
ruining it for anybody, just
Right.
in the moment type thing. I really enjoyed her.
Even when there's like a moment and like towards the end of the movie where she makes a choice, is all I'll say. The choice isn't, it's one that you're going like, wow, but it's not one that you're surprised by, right? Like exactly like what you just said. You're like, no, that's what she would do. You know,
Yeah.
like that's actually what she would do. And she handles it in a unique way. And yeah, she was really great. And even yeah, just throughout. So I'm trying not to say too much.
Yeah, I feel like I already have. I'm trying. The so this movie, and not we're not going to talk about any particular details at all,
Mhm.
but I think you actually said the word earlier. But there are a number of very uncomfortable moments in this, and now I'm not just talking like just like your typical scares. Like there's some
Oh
straight
no.
up discomforting stuff to look at.
Oh, Yeah, as a matter of fact, this movie is, as far as like the effects and practicality of it, it's one of the more realistic things I've seen, barring a scene or two that wasn't just like out, like horror movie style stuff. The visual stylings of it, yeah, uncomfortable. There's one scene in a window that I really just kind of stuck with me, even.
Right.
And so there's, and even when it does, like this movie can and does, and it's not trying to hide the fact that it's kind of over the top in
Oh
a
yeah,
way.
it absolutely leans into it.
Right, right, right. But it doesn't do it in a way that like ruins it. It's like I would even say like what are those, like the Hatchet movies? Like I know that those whole ideas over the top slasher murder killer, but like
Right.
even they're a little bit too much for me.
I
And
agree.
this kind of walk the line of like, no, that's on the edge of too much, but no, it's not. It actually works really well.
Yeah, like the way it does is it's in a way to where because some of the stuff that to me was very uncomfortable, it's foreshadowed very well. And it's one of those like, are they gonna do that? Oh no, no, I think they're gonna do that. They're doing it.
Yeah, totally.
And it's this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where I think it's a very brave movie because
Hmm.
yeah, movies that no one indie movies or they're going straight to the Roku channel or whatever the case,
Hmm.
you can kind of get away with a lot more.
Hmm.
But when you have test audiences and investors and they've paid so much to put it in so many theaters, like you have to be a little more careful. And
Right.
it's like this movie, it's almost like someone forgot about it and they just had free reign. Like whatever crazy idea they had, they went with it. And to your point, yes, it is over the top, but it never crosses that line.
No, it doesn't. And it's like maybe they watched the first third of it and we're like, ooh, this is creepy, like let's, yeah, just give them
Yeah.
money, let's do it. But there is, yeah, it doesn't cross any line. There are moments that are definitely like cringy for like all the right reasons. And like one of the things that I thought this movie actually did really well, it's like, not, I guess it's not cringe, but just discomfort and uncomfort with like looking down like a long hallway, and like the way the direction was on those shots where it's like, man, that made that hallway look extremely long and dark and creepy. And those were very subtle things that you know were good direction and subtle camera work and good stuff that are far from over the top, that are really good in this.
Yeah, like any horror movie that's worth its stock, like it'll
Hmm.
have good hallway shots. So yeah,
Great
this
hall, yeah, exactly.
yeah, it absolutely needs that. So my final question to you about this movie is so this kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody expected this to be what it is. Now, what makes this movie so popular? I mean, this is totally opinion.
Wow.
My opinion, there's like nothing like it. Like it has
Yeah.
elements that are like other things, but like the way it handles things, like the risks that it takes, like the fact that it is so out there in some ways and so silly in other ways, like there's no one-to-one comparison for this.
I, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think, and I think the kind of reverence that like us fans are giving it, where we're like, not, we're choosing not to ruin it for our fellow horror companions. Our Halloween people out there need to enjoy this adulterated, pure enjoyment. And so I think that's like adding to the mystique to it, and like enjoyment, is that we've all kind of taken care of this movie for whatever reason. We do not take care of all of our movies like this, but we have on this one, and I think
That's
that's
very
interesting.
true. Kudos to everyone who's seen this
Yes.
movie and has not gone on there because when I went and saw this goes back way back when I went and saw the second Infinity movie. Was that Infinity War or Endgame? Endgame.
Yeah.
I went and saw Endgame and I just posted on Instagram. So I was at the Alamo and I posted a picture of Alamo, like, here to see Endgame. And someone put on there, so and so and so and so are gonna die. Like within like 5 seconds of me posting that.
See.
Like just like that. So
Yeah.
kudos to everyone because now I have made it a point not to see anything about this movie, but
Yeah.
even then, like you can't avoid Game of Thrones stuff. You can't avoid there was a
Right.
point where you couldn't avoid Walking Dead stuff.
Right.
Like it's hard to do it. But this movie, I have not heard anything about. So thank you to everyone for
Yeah.
not ruining this movie for me. So Blake, see
Ah.
or no see Barbarian. It's on HBO Max right now, and it's probably still playing in theaters.
I definitely see it. I'd go spend theater bucks on it. Support it. It's a good movie. I had a great theater experience with it, even though it was like weird, and some people hated it. I enjoyed my theater experience with it. I rewatched it on HBO Max, and it was a super great at home movie too. So couldn't recommend it more.
I completely agree with you. I have not had the opportunity to see it in theaters, unfortunately, but I did see it on HBO Max, and I enjoyed my time with this completely. Yes, I was taken aback by a lot of things, but to me, that's just good filmmaking. Like, it was supposed to do that to me. So overall, I very much enjoyed this movie. And I think everyone should see it. Oh,